Today on Gamers Couch,
H.P. Lovecraft's no, it's actually Kingsport. It's actually a festival in Kingsport. Be happy, we are celebrating Kingsport. Festival time!
yeah, I got a crazy dude next to me. Happy Sunday, welcome to the couch. My name is Sarah, I'm the artist behind Pinselgeschichten, and this is my lovely husband Daniel, and today we're talking Kingsport. The board game. Breathe. As always, we start with rules and gameplay. That's his part to explain to you and maybe tell me again with some of the games. Then we talk about what we liked, maybe not liked about the game, and then we finish up the video with funny stories and experiences that we had during playing whatever game. Like he said, today it's Kingsport. And I didn't have port yet. It's early. Anyways, go my dear. Tell us all about the game.
We gather together in Kingsport as cultists, as devotees to the elder gods, or the old ones, or the ones that we are not able to pronounce as Cthulhu, Shapnigrath,
Azathoth.
and others, and Azathoth. For some reason, we do that in Kingsport, which is a town with obviously a port and multiple buildings that we'll use to advance our influence over the town and try to gain cult points, which is the Lovecraftian version of the medieval victory points that will bring forth your chances of winning the game. In fact, this is very much what this game is about. So let's have a look at Kingsport. Here we see Kingsport, a town divided by or set up with different locations. You'll start out in the center, and this place is numbered 1 for a reason. And from there spread across the level 2 buildings, level 3 buildings, up to the very outer edges of reality to the level 4 buildings. While doing so, your little colored marker will move along this cultist point track at the edges, and he who's furthest along that will win the game in the end. To your left, now I actually had to think about what side this will be on. On this side, wherever that may be, is your sanity. Unlike in, today's real life, sanity here can be easily glanced upon by a numbered value that ranges between 0 and 12. You'll start out at 10, and, during the course of the game, summoning the elder gods, asking them for favors, may cost you a bit of your sanity. On the other side are your magic points. Unfortunately, you'll start out here with the 0, so you'll have to gain those in order to be able to cast powerful spells and use some of the special abilities that the locations will give you during the game. And down here is the track that determines who will go first, and as you can see easily from here, it's up to 5 players, and the first player will regain sanity. The second player will gain a little bit of sanity. 3 to 5, not so much luck. But in order to get first player, you have to be pretty shitty at another part of the game, which is the dice rolling. We'll get to that in a moment. And last but not least, down here is the turn track. This game goes over 12 turns. And depending on which scenario you're playing, which by the way goes here, you will encounter special events, so-called attacks by the good guys, by investigators who try to thwart your plans of world domination with your most beloved old god that you're trying to pursue to help you. But first, let's take a quick look at what we actually are going to celebrate in Kingsport by glancing over the scenario cards and some of the festivals that will happen at the end of the game.
Cthulhu's birthday, we celebrate that, right?
I don't know, maybe Pirate Quackthulhu behind us will shed some light. Oh no, I'm becoming mad because he is already mad.
Anyways,
at someone for not delivering his favorite rum. Although he looks pretty much like a rum barrel, so. So as I said, there's a bunch of scenario cards. You will draw one at random, and they just introduce additional rules to the game. Some of these also introduce so-called festival cards, as the name of the game is pretty much, that are resolved at the end of the game and have a little bit of a surprise in there, just mixing things up. In fact, not very much about this game is about secret information. There is some secret information in this, but you generally always know what all the other players are doing, mostly because they're kind of taking away the things that you want to do. Which brings us to, what are you doing? So as a cultist, as a worshipper of unspeakable evil or, horrible things, you have your 3 dice, which you will use to gain favors from these guys. You roll those dice at the beginning of your turn and then face the actually really maddening truth that the game board that I showed you is only half of the space that this game takes up. Because there's these little cards here, and each one has, for one, a number on top of them and some rewards that you're getting. Yes, these are in fact 20 of these cards, and yes, they have to be on the table because you will use them as spaces to place your dice on. So on your turn, you start rolling dice. Actually, in fact, everybody does that. And with the start player, you can choose to place 1, 2, or 3 of your dice with the corresponding number on the corresponding field. So let's say I rolled a terrible roll, a 1, 2, and a 3. I could go and place either the 1 on the 1, the 2 on the 2, the 3 on the 3, or maybe the 1, 2, 3 all together on the 6. Once I've done that, the next player in turn is it's his turn with his dice to place them on one of those corresponding cards until it gets back to me again. If I still have dice, I can invoke another favor, or I can just pass. But as soon as you pass, you're not getting to place any dice anymore. Afterwards, starting from lowest to highest, you will go through these and assign the rewards and reap the some of them actually drive you crazy. So let's take a look at one card. So this guy, number 9, is called Nodens. How do I know? Well, his entire backstory is on the back of the card and with the name. So probably you will never see it again after I flip this card over, because this is what you usually would play with. So again, 2 bars. Upper bar is the cost. In this case, this guy costs you 2 health or sanity. And as a reward, you get stuff. In this particular case, you get magic points, spells, and the ability to take a look at one of the hidden cards of the game. I'll get to that shortly. But you have, as I said, it's a 9, so you have to roll a 9 actually with these dice in any combination to activate that thing. There are some here where you, as the mathematical geniuses that all of you beautiful people on the internet are, will find out that it is quite difficult to roll a 19 with 3 dice. So obviously there are other ways to augment the pips you rolled on these dice with, let's say, spells. As you've seen, that card, Nodens, gives you a couple of spells, and whenever something says draw a spell, you get to choose which one of these 3 stacks of cards you want to grab, and these kind of correspond with the base resources of the game. There's little cubes in the game as well, and these are the resources that you're going to spend. So whenever, let's see, if you use Run Tegoth, sounds like a bit like a rancor. Anyway, if you roll an 8 and place a dice on these, this guy would give you a terror and a destruction resource, or just a black cube and a red cube. And obviously there's also tentacle available, and tentacle is the purple cube. And as I said, corresponding to those colors are these spells. Most of the spells, well, that's not right to say. A lot of the spells revolve around the color they're from. So purple ones give you more purple, black ones give you more black, and so on. But that's not entirely true. Some of these spells increase your attack potential, which I'll get into once we talk about events. Some of these adjust your dice at the beginning of the game. In fact, most of these, so the other side that you probably cannot read at all, specifically say in which phase of the game you can use that spell to do it. And some of them have a cost attached to them, and that's where your spell points come in, and would say something like, hey, spend 2 spell points to blah, do something, or gain as many resources as you have spell points divided by 2 rounded up with a square root and some other whatever. So you try to gather resources and then spread out across this the map. And as I said, now that makes probably more sense. There's a cost here and a reward here. So if I wanted to move into this space, I have to pay 2 purple cubes, 2 red cubes. I would gain for that 3 victory points and whatever the special ability of that place. Because this game has not enough components, for each house on the board, there's a little of these tiles that does explain what the thing actually does once you place one of your little things on there. And these could be a bonus that you get each turn in a specific phase. It could be a one-time bonus, like the house that you actually start on gives you a resource of your choosing. And moving forward, you will gain more and more points spreading out. There's the general rule: you can only spread to a house of well, the houses itself or the places itself have a power rating attached to them. So this guy is a 2, this guy is a 3, this guy is a 4. You can only move to a house if you have an adjacent one level lower location already occupied next to that. So in order to get to the 3, I have to have either that 2 or that 2 to move over here. It is actually quite intuitive. As long as you follow these arrows and have an arrow that allows you to go there, you're good. You can actually have multiple of your little discs on the same space, and for some that gives you additional rewards, but most of the spaces only give you a reward at a specific time at the turn and only once. So even if you have 2 discs on there, you only get the reward once. However, the immediate payment or the immediate reward, these victory points, you will always get as soon as you paid the cost and put your disc on there. So that's the reason why it's worth going to the 4 space multiple times, because you want to have the victory points that are attached to that. Depending on the scenario card will not only list additional rules, but will also talk about the attack events that happen on specific turns. So this one says the Mountains of Madness. Sound familiar? Because, well, all of these reference Lovecraft stories, or well, at least adjacent stories to Lovecraft. I think there is some from Derleth and so on. So this also says attacks happen on 4, 6, 10, and 12. And if you recall, I showed you the 12th turn thing below. And on each of these turns, an attack will happen. We have the first attack cards, then we have the second attack cards, and the third attack cards, and the surprise 4th attack cards. As well with a couple of events that modify those attacks. So what happens there is you draw a random card, and these attacks are always some pesky investigators that want to keep us from taking over the world. For example, Frank Elwood is a poor student. He has no special ability. If you win against him, you regain 1 point of sanity. If you lose against him, you lose 1 of each resource type, which is... Poor students are pretty annoying, stealing all your resources and keeping you from world domination. I don't like them. The other point of information that's on here is he's a 2, so that's his attack strength. Your attack strength is 0 because you're incapable of doing anything. You're a cultist. You're not an elder god. However, by making your influence across the board, you will find places that give you attack power or grant you some special abilities, or you may have a spell that gives you additional attack power. So on that turn, when the investigator shows up, each cultist must face him and run the event card that is attached to them as well, and see if he can beat him. If you manage to gain twice as much attack points as he is worth, you actually get twice the rewards for that. But if you just have enough as he does, you get out without a scratch, but you don't get any rewards. So you actually have to have a higher number to get the reward. So let's see. It's an interesting. This event is very Latin. It's called Ex Oblivione. And this says you will reveal the attacker card, and the attacker, if the attacker has a strength of 3 or less, and our poor student had 2, so yes, he gains a +1 strength. So we already don't like Ex Oblivione. However, if he's stronger than 3, every cultist gains 1 purple little tentacle cubist tentacle. Which is nice again, so maybe Ex Oblivione not that bad at all. And that is pretty much the entire game. You play those 12 rounds, and at the end of the game, maybe you have a special rule that says you have the scenario card does something to you, or there's a festival card under the scenario card, so half of them probably say, draw a festival card, put it under the stack of scenario cards, and reveal and be surprised at the festival that says, the cultist who has the most tentacles gains 2 victory points. The cultist who has the most death skulls, black cubes, gains 3. And the one who has the most destruction, little fiery cubes, gains 4 victory points. So that might screw you over at the end if you're not aware of that. Sounds very planny, strategic, technical, not as fluffy, but that's the life of a cultist. Cultists don't get the chicks. Well, only for stabbing them, because they have to sacrifice a virgin to some tentacle-shaped elder god. But in this case, it's all about making your influence across the town and spreading out, being more powerful than your fellow cultists, because at that late-night dinner parties, you want to brag about how Azathoth, your chosen deity, is pretty much punching everybody else in the face. Specifically that sleepy guy who's on the bed of the ocean floor somewhere in and trying to take over the world while sleeping. Well, actually, he tries to wake up and then take over the world. But, I mean, come on, dude. Don't hit the snooze button all the time. Just get up and get out, and then humans go away. I think we're done with explaining this
Yes.
game. I was thinking about having a little extra video that explains how to build a table that is actually able to sustain that game. In fact, we had to buy a new table to get everything on the table. I don't know what your furniture situation looks like, but you've seen the board is quite big, and trust me, those 20 cards, it's about the same space they take up there as well. So get prepared, have your incantations ready, and then you will see that this game gives you as many tentacles as I might give it at the end of the rating. Now you may say something
Let's go into the next section.
Or negative about it.
Likes, dislikes. So, This is a bit of a tricky game for me. Let's start with what I liked. I really liked the artwork, the quality of the components, all the stuff that comes with it. Whether you read it or not, it's just nice that it's there and it adds to the flavor. Talking about the stories on the backside of the dice mini tiles there, for example, really like that. If you're into Lovecraft and into these stories, you could read them. If you don't have to read through them to get that one specific sentence that tells you what to do, like it does with other games, thinking about Eldritch Horror and stuff like that. So I liked the way that the publisher decided to give you information and to have it there, but not to throw it in your face and take away from gameplay experience. Again, quality, colors, artwork, gorgeous. Really, really like that. Gets you into the game. I'm not too crazy about the size of the whole playing area, but then again, you could have made those boards a bit tinier, but you would have needed a large space anyways. So yeah, I mean, it's not that much huger than other games with huge boards. Talking about, I don't know, like I said, Eldritch Horror has a big board. Witcher, Lords of Xidit, all of those, they have big boards, and this game is right there. But it could have done the boards, the tiles for the dice maybe a tiny bit smaller so that you can have it on a normal dinner table that is for 4 people instead of 6 that we have, and it uses up all the space. One thing that I really like when it comes to game mechanics and playing this game is it has 12 rounds, so it's rather limited for how long this game takes. There's only so many things you could do because it's very dependent on what you roll with your dice. Though you got a lot of options and it looks kind of overwhelming, it's not, because you only have 1 or maybe 2 things you could do in your action because you rolled certain numbers on your dice. So I really like that. It makes the game play rather quickly, though you gotta decide a lot. What am I gonna do? It might take a minute here or there, but it's not dragging on forever. I also like that it has everything that a game with classical worker placement mechanic has. It does all those things, and I like that.
You mean the hate for the other cultists who just
you do your cubes here, you get the victory, you have your disc on the house, you're at the church or graveyard or whatever, you can do only so much. It's nice. There's one thing that I'm not too happy with, and that is the bouncing back mechanism, because there is none. And when you are sometimes a patient of the Wheaton's disease, all you gamers know that he's really bad with rolling dice, and it happened to me once or twice or always 2 with this game. It really prevents you from enjoying all of the game, because you're just so shitty you can't do anything for 8 turns, and you're so far behind. There's no mechanism that you could bounce back if you're really unlucky rolling dice, and I mean that more than once. So that was something that I was not too happy with, because latest by turn 3, if that happens to you, you play along. You don't really play the game enjoying it for all that it could be. So not too happy there, but that's the only thing that, well, kind of bugged me. On the other hand, there might be something in the spells that we just did not draw in all of the games that could have kind of a bounce back mechanism for you, but I haven't found it yet in the games, so I'm just assuming there is none. And that's my 2 cents. How about you? What do you think?
I'm conflicted on this. So I said that I know that this is a different game with a theme pasted on, and I really like the artwork, and that explains why it's huge. This does not have to be huge because it has to fit 3 dice or more dice in one thing on here, but it is there to transport the theme and to do that. Well, to look nice and everything.
To have space for the stories on the backside, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, you have the story back here, so if you are a Lovecraft fan or if you are familiar with this work, you know the stuff that's on the back here. It's not adding a lot because it's just a description of, well, this is the hunter in the darkness and whatever. What he does, if you read the story, you kind of know. I mean, these are not well, they are books, but these are all short stories that they appear in, and you might be familiar with the characters in the Cthulhu mythos. And if you're not, that's fine. I don't see anyone playing this game saying, "Oh wait, let me read out the description of this guy that I placed my 3 dice on," because then we're sitting here in 5 hours still and trying to figure out what we're going to do. Also, the fact, and this I'm starting really negative here, the fact that they're so big actually prevented this game straight out from being played more here in our living room.
Yeah, because we couldn't fit it on the old table.
Yeah, for one, because we couldn't fit it, and also something like that bothers me because it's cumbersome to set up, and you even if you can get it onto the table, everything's crammed, and you actually have to manage things around and do that. Also, this game isn't that long, actually. It says 90 minutes. I think that's
fairly accurate.
That's all right, but with that big of a setup, yeah, it's kind of the how do I want to move everything off the table to move everything of this onto the table and then play 90 minutes and then move everything off again. The other thing, and I don't know if that's a thing with Kingsport as well, but this game makes me feel like it pretends that there's a lot of choice, but I don't think there is actually much choice in there because you are limited by the dice rolling. Don't get me wrong, I do like the action of rolling dice and then distributing them up to have them use actions. But what I mean with you're kind of limited by having these guys show up because there's only so many buildings that actually give you some attack values to defend against these guys. And while some are not as devastating as others, you're pretty. You could try to circumvent them and go for other buildings and get your points there and do that. But it always felt to me like you would be better off being prepared for the investigator and then doing all the pointy stuff, like victory point stuff on the side. It's almost like there's not a lot of other strategy to follow up to do that. And maybe we just haven't seen enough of the scenario cards, but what I read, I just glanced over them. Hey, didn't look that terribly different to that. So that's one thing. The other thing is, as the cubes indicated, this game is also suffering from the Lords of Waterdeep theme disease. Where, as I said, this is doing a great job of having these really nice looking cards on them, but that doesn't really come out a lot in the gameplay. It's even, I mean, with Lords of Waterdeep, you say, I'm sending my black dudes into the dungeon to retrieve the purple dudes, and then the white guy will show up and I'll score the quest, and now I win. Here, you don't even talk about the purple guys and the red guys and the black guys as much. You just, I've rolled the 13 and I can do a 7 out of that and a 6, or I could do this and then I pay the purple and the red cube and then I get the 6 points there and okay, next turn. As you just witnessed, I did not once say cultist, Cthulhu, mythos, tentacle, incantation, or something. And I wouldn't know any one single thing that you could do to that to make that more thematic, but it is mechanics wise, it's a cool game to play. If you enjoy these kinds of things, that's fine. But this kind of entered our living room saying, in fact, the box says, at least Cosmo says, this game is for guys who like strategy, not so much people who are lucky.
So it's perfect for me.
But very big on Lovecraft fans and Cthulhu fans. And I'm not... Yeah, it is, as I said, it's a little bit thinky. Still quite a bit luck-based on the what do I roll with my dice, and luck-based on what spells do I have available, because those are the only other thing that kind of augments the dice that you have. And actually not that much of a mythos-based game as it turns out to be. I still think that a game like Mansions of Madness is really thematic with the story stuff in there.
Eldritch is more, Elder Sign.
I was about to say Eldritch horror is more thematic. This is actually I'd say this is among the lines of Elder Sign. I don't think Elder Sign is a very thematic game either.
Yeah, but there you have the tentacles and all of that on the dice, so you roll them. They're on the back of the cards.
Yeah.
If you're short-sighted like me and play without glasses, you see colors. You don't see. No, you don't see the signs. The only thing that I thought you could come up with instead of the cubes to make it actually thematic more, that you say the words
little skull meeples,
little skulls, little fire tokens, and little tentacles, but.
Yeah,
that just no. The only thing that it would do, instead of I play one black, one purple, one red, you would say I play a fire, a tentacle, or a skull. But that doesn't necessarily put you more into the Lovecraftian world, I think, right? So
yeah,
it's really difficult.
It feels like playing a resource-based game with a little bit of rolling dice and then worker placement. Those guys,
and with a bit more luck factor involved, because it has dice in comparison
and
to.
It's perfectly possible that someone says, well, Kingsport was exactly just that, and it's super dry, and
never played it, never seen it, didn't look for it.
And if that thematic addition changed much, I don't think it did. Well, as I said, I don't dislike the game, but I think it doesn't get to what it was aiming at in terms of audience and in terms of feel. I never feel like I'm spreading my cult across the city. I'm looking explicitly around what resources do I have available, what stuff do I get, and I understand that's my problem. I could go in there and say, I want to spread out to the graveyard, or I want to spread out to the dock because I'm
throwing things away.
See, that's the game.
That's what you do at the dock. You throw things in water.
How Azathoth introduced chaos to my handling of this video. There's these little snippets of fluff on these cards, but it's very few. And in fact, now the manual isn't that big either. It actually becomes a lot more shorter and smaller once you realize that every page has on the sides here is the backstory for these guys, which I found is a weird way of doing that. I mean, usually you either have like a thing at the end that introduces those characters or a separate booklet. But here actually these guys are invading your manual space.
Yeah.
That's how bad they are.
And the thing is, when you open the game for the first time and you see these with text, not with pictures, crowded pages, you're like, oh, what the heck, what did I get into? Until you realize, You only need half of it.
This looks like really a lot of stuff because it's so much text. It's almost like reading the Vermis Mysteries out of this. And
yeah, you gotta learn so much. You gotta pay attention.
It isn't. It seems that even Cosmos realized that and added a little. Well, this is pretty much all the rules that you need to play the game, except for some more specific stuff. And,
and on the cards you have the turn order, which is actually pretty much all you need, and an explanation on the other side of all the icons that are on the board, what they mean. So why crowd everything and make you feel anxious, tense, and overwhelmed once you open the booklet? It's like until you realize, oh, I don't need that. They're just fluff text in the manual. So. It's just that printing choice. I don't think it's the author's choice at that point.
And the rest, I mean, card quality is fine. These are fine. This is like also more stronger paper cardboard thing.
Yeah. Feels kind of laminated also. So that's good.
That's fine. It's just
So it's weird.
Going into final rating, I have to say this is more, unfortunately, on the meh out of the Cthulhu Ftong side of things for me. Yeah. It's all right. If someone says, "Hey, I really want to play this game," I probably say yes and play this game. But I don't see myself in the foreseeable future going and say, "Hey, you guys, Cthulhu's in Kingsport, let's go and throw a festival." And
no,
probably.
I would prefer if I really feel, I want to go Cthulhu today. First, I would wait for the day that it eats spaghetti and has the national day for that. Also, I would probably go for one of our other Cthulhu themed games. I wouldn't go Kingsport first. And my personal rating from 1 to awesome, it's a 6.5. It's won some points due to the lovely artwork and just having a consistent feel to the game when you look at it. But it lost a lot of points because of the bounce back with me. And that segues perfectly now into our funny stories and experiences. Now, we've played it twice. I played it twice. Did you play it once more at the gaming weekend? So you played it 3 times.
I think I played it with every number of players. So I played it with 3, 4, and 5 players.
Okay, so I played 3 and 5. Last year, we bought that last year at the Spiel, and then like 2 weeks later we had a gaming weekend in a house with lots and lots of people, and we played it there with a full set of people. And I remember back then we had a few people with, not analysis paralysis, but they took a long time to decide which of the 2 options they're gonna go, because they, just like us, didn't know the game and didn't know if one option that they had was maybe better than the other. Not saying, I'm trying to think out the whole game, but is that one better? Am I doing the stupid move here? Things like that. And then there was me sitting there being totally shitty at rolling dice. And so I was really, really limited with what I could do. For one, rolling shitty limits you very, very much with the choices where you could actually put your dice. Now, when you have a full set of players, it limits you even more when you're shitty, because when one of these tiles is occupied by somebody else with a die, you can't go there anymore. So I couldn't...
Actually, that is the one...
Oh, sorry. No, but like one of these
the
tiles.
Other ones, yeah.
Yeah. So I was really, really limited, and I was sitting on 2 houses, one of them being the starting spot, where I sat and got resources, and I hardly got any resources, so I wasn't really able to go to a category 4 house. I was category 2, and I think I was almost ready to go to category 3 with the resources once the game was very much closing to the end. So the bouncing back that I said was not happening at all, and I was playing along for 19 minutes and just like, am I just grasping one thing, one mechanic? Not really.
If you're rolling low, kind of the thing that supposedly sets you off or gives you an advantage against other players is that you get to start by placing your dice first that round and pick up the spot that's good. Also, you regain sanity from doing that.
Yeah, I was totally sane, but not getting any resources.
But if you then still roll badly or roll in a way that you just get one resource here, one resource there, and
and I was sitting a lot on this X spot actually because I couldn't do anything with my dice. And for example, I could sometimes go to the 1 or the 2, but I hardly ever got over 7 or 8. So like 2/3 of the tiles I couldn't use anyways. Then I thought, well, maybe I use a 1 and a 2, split things up to get at least some resources. And then when somebody else sat there until it was my turn again, it's like, yeah, I couldn't do anything anymore, so all the rest of my dice go here. It's like, thank you. But again, other people to play nice, that's not the goal of the game either. So the first round was really horrible for me.
Also, so I have to say, I did like that there's more of that conflict. It's not really interaction, but conflict going on with more players. But what makes things drag on quite a bit with that is you'd be surprised how long you can look at 3 dice trying to figure out, okay, these are the combinations that I can do, glancing over to the benefits that you can get from them, going look over the board trying to figure out, okay, if I could go there next, and granted this is something that probably goes away if you played this a couple of times, but if you're having someone at the table who takes some time to think about that stuff, since you cannot place all your 3 dice at once, well, you can, but only on the combined result thing. So what happens is, for example, you roll as ever, place it on the 3, and then the next player's turn is, okay, I'll take the 8 then, and then it starts with, oh crap, I wanted to take the 8, now I cannot take the 8. Now let me see what other combinations of numbers I can produce with my dice, and let me look again at the board if there's an alternative to what I actually wanted to do. So that is not something you can do in advance on another player's turn. So you have to do that in the moment, and it just drags on the game. And that happens not only to one guy, but then he picks the other thing, and the next guy is, oh crap, now I...
So now the more players that you have, it logically drags on more and more and more. The first game that we ever played was with a full set of 5. So I had the double, this is weird, am I missing something kind of experience to the game. I really thought I misunderstood a rule. And then we didn't play the game until last week, because we didn't have the big table where we could actually fit the game in our house, and we couldn't play just the 2 of us because it starts... In that regard, it was. We could have played on the floor if we wanted to, or just got on my working tables from upstairs from the studio down here and play it then. But another reason was, this is 3 to something players. We do have another game that we yet have to play that we bought last year because it's 3 to something. And usually when we have the big gaming group, we play other games. We're now getting to the point that we're playing a few games that we haven't played yet that are still on the to-play shelves. However, so it was almost a year in between the 2 experiences. Now, last week we played it with 3 players, and it was, in the beginning, it felt I was very, very much reminded of that gaming weekend experiences. However, no, I'm getting to the good part. I was shitty as ever with rolling dice, so no difference there. But I was less frustrated because I could at least kind of split up my dice because we were less players and I wasn't blocked as much. And you guys once in a while rolled shitty too, and I once in a while, in 12 rounds, that's maybe 3 times, I had not the too shabby result of rolling dice, and there I could really get my feet on the ground and go to certain houses and get victory points. Now, one other thing that I really liked that last week, but that is very heavy on depending on whom are you playing with, we lightened things up a bit and, giggled a lot because we added the component of sexual innuendos to the game, which is very lovely with Lovecraft. It just begs for tentacle porn references and all these kinds of shit, which on the one hand prevents you from playing the game swiftly because you giggle so much and you can't really do what you're supposed to do. On the other hand, it just lightens up the mood on the table, so I like that. That was lovely, but again, very dependent on whom you're playing the game with.
It also doesn't help with the die rolling that it's not necessarily the good move to go for the highest number that you rolled. So even if you, let's say, rolled a 15, it's not necessarily advantageous to go for the 15. Sometimes it would be better to go for a 5 and a 10 to get where you wanted to go, and that's where that conflict kind of adds up. Yes, the higher number of spaces give you more rewards, but that, keep in mind, that also has to adjust for you getting less because you're not using 3 different rewards that you're getting there.
Yeah. And one of the very powerful tiles, I have to say, is number 9. That was with the.
I think it's Noden's because I just read it, but
you can look at the. You can look at the card. You got the glasses there, and you can look either at the festival card or the event card or the investigator card, and that could really, really help. So that I found that tile very powerful because number-wise it is in a range that is probably doable. Well, it's quite doable for everybody else. It's maybe doable for me when it comes to rolling dice. So I found that that symbol was on other tiles too, but only higher in the numbers.
Yeah, but apart from that, you can get a location that gives you that special ability
that's true.
Each turn.
I wouldn't go there.
But that goes with what I said earlier. So that ability allows you to either look at the investigator or the event card, or if you're already through with all 4, you can look at the festival card, if any, under the scenario card. The thing why I think that is so powerful is, as I said earlier, you kind of have to deal with the investigator. It's usually not worth necessarily beating the living crap out of them, but it is at least worth getting or having the same number of attack points. Reason being for that, some are actually quite a few of them make you remove one of your discs from a location,
and you have to go back.
Whenever that happens, you have to pay back kind of the cult points that you got.
Yeah.
So that is a really, really bad thing to happen, and you're almost always forced to pick it off the highest level building that you occupy. So it'll hurt for sure.
Yeah. On the one other thing that I had, I don't know if I had that the first time, but at least I had that last game, and that was kind of meh. For me, it's like, what the heck. Rolling dice shitty means you have low numbers. And in at least 2/3 of the games, I was on position 1 on the board, which gives you as a reward... in turn order, which gives you 2 sanity, the next one is 1 sanity, and the others no reward there. Well,
no sanity.
At one point, not even halfway through the game, I was pretty much sitting on the first point, and I couldn't get more sanity because I was sane. I had the 12 there, and there's no other balance reward kind of thing that you get the sanity because you rolled shitty. Come on, next turn, all is good. No, not with me. And at some point in the game, it's like, yeah, great. No kind of balance thing going on, and still rolling shitty. What the heck?
I don't know if that might actually be something that if you gain sanity beyond what you have, that you get cult points for that might balance things out.
That would be nice, but we didn't see it in the rules, and so we didn't play it like that. As I said
earlier in other videos, not a game designer here, but that might be something that I can see how frustrating that is. Because maximum sanity, maximum magic points, and
I think it was either round 3 or round 4. I don't remember correctly. I really. Well, you were halfway across the board, pretty much. Tina had to peg back later, so she kind of joined me on the shitty side of things later. But she didn't have the frustrating experience like dragging turn to turn to turn. But it was like, it was her first game. But it was like one shitty thing happened to her, and she had to remove discs, and it really hurt her. But for me, it was starting 3 or 4, like I said, that it again was this experience. Okay, I'm playing along. I'm not playing the game to its full potential, and I'm not really enjoying it because I cannot balance out just the bad luck with the dice. However, you guys kind of made it work for me just for joking a lot at the table and taking my mind off things and not making it a dragging and like, oh, what the heck I could do. Can we please play something else? Kind of experience. But okay, this is a shitty experience for me gaming-wise, but at least you're making fun of it. So you lightened the mood so much that I was nowhere near being as frustrated as I should be. And it was an okay game, but it was really just a lovely time because we joked so much and laughed a lot, which is always a nice thing, but that doesn't come from the game, that comes from the people you play with. So I think that is a nice sentence to wrap up the video. What do you think?
I think we can banish this now back into its otherworldly dimension and
put it on the shelf. Let it collect dust for a while.
And on that tone, subscribe, like, and
share.
Never forget.
Share. You forgot the share. Not the singer.
Klatu Berata. Bye.
Bye, everybody. And by the way, if you have any questions, comments, something, leave it in the comment section below. Very much appreciated. Take care until next Sunday. Bye.
Bye.